Hey there, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us and tuning in to this live broadcast. Whether you are joining us live or watching the replay, you are in for an incredible time spent with us. My name is Joshua Carey with Pet Sittingology, of course, and for anybody, pet professionals, pet sitters, people who are interested in doing good in your community. If you've ever had a desire, an idea, an inkling that you want to make a big difference, you want to make a big impact in your community, in your world, in your personal life, today is the day for you. We are joined with a very special someone. Her name is Bethany Green, and she is not only a very successful pet sitting business owner, but she is also the founder of an incredibly what became and turned out really by no accident. You'll see in her hometown of Louisville. We were talking Kentucky. We were talking right before we went on the air of how exactly to say Louisville, as I would, my northern New Jersey accent would have me say it. But she's out of Louisville, I'll get it right, Louisville, Kentucky. Her pet sitting business is called Paws Pet Care. And welcome to the show today, Bethany. How are you?
Hey Josh, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I'm doing great.
Excellent. And how did I say the town? I said it half decently.
Yeah, like I told you before, we have a kind of a standing joke here in Louisville. We have flags all over the city that have 10 different ways that people can say Louisville. And most of the time it's Louisville from quote-unquote outsiders. So whatever, it doesn't matter. Louisville.
It doesn't matter. I agree. So what we're going to be discussing today, as I said in the intro, you have formed and founded and started your own now successful, amazing nonprofit. And what I love about our industry is by default, by definition, so many of us are passionate people, are compassionate people. We love people, we love pets, we want to care for the pets in our community. We have a burning desire to do so much good for the pets in our area. And what I loved about what you've done, I of course have been following your journey for a while now, and I'm just amazed at the success that you have found with this nonprofit. I quite often have that dream, have that vision, have that desire to start one, but I can imagine there have to be very specific pieces to get that going, and I'm thrilled you're going to walk us through how you did it, what some of the obstacles are, and what we should and could be doing to make it happen for ourselves. Before we get into that specific, tie it all together for us. Tell us a little bit about your pet sitting business. How long have you had it? How is it doing today?
Well, we started our pet sitting business 5 years ago, and my husband and I have always had a passion for animals of all kinds. And for years before we actually started the business and registered it with the state and put up a website, we did pet sitting for friends and family for, cakes, pies, cookies, gift cards, and bottles of wine. So he is a police officer, and we oftentimes did help out other police officers and other people in the community. One day we just looked at each other and we were like, we should do this for a business. I have a business background. We both had a love for pets, so that day it was born, and we have just been extremely successful and blessed over these last 5 years, and are just grateful to be able to say that our business is doing really well.
Well, that's fantastic. So we're talking about your pet sitting business going
Yes.
strong. Give us a sense of the size. How many people on staff do you have there with you?
We now have 10 contractors on staff. That number will change during the year depending on holidays and things of that nature. So our longest contractor has been with us for a couple of years. We have contractors that stay in the system that kind of come, they work when they can, and at times they can't. So we have grown from just my husband and I doing this together to being able, over the last 2 years, for us to step back out of working in the business to being able to work on the business. And now I am managing it full time. Kind of came out of corporate America, a 9-to-5 job, and I'm blessed to be able to say that I manage this business full time now, and it's been great.
Yeah, and that's amazing because, as we're going to get into, you also are the founder of the nonprofit My Dog Eats First, which
Yes.
I think is such a beautiful. First of all, I love the story, which we're going to hear, of how the title came about, My Dog Eats First. And even more deeper to the point, I love what it does. When we were talking on the phone a few days ago, I remember saying that I don't hear of this particular rescue, in a sense. And I know it's not a rescue, but it's a nonprofit, and it serves the pets and the homeless of the pets of the homeless in
Yes.
your community. It's
Yes.
just brilliant, just so wonderful. Give us a quick overview of what My Dog Eats First is.
Well, I'll tell you, Josh, there are millions of homeless people in America. And statistics show that 5 to 10% of those homeless folks have pets. They have them for a variety of reasons. Some homeless folks did not start out homeless. They had homes. They had lives as we know them as to be normal. And just based on a set of circumstances or something, someone told me once that we're all just a couple paychecks away from being homeless, or most of us are. So they've lost their homes, they've lost their lives as they know it, and the only thing that they have that provides them with that unconditional love, support, something to care for, that does not judge them, is their pets. And if you think about it, if something happened tomorrow, I have 3 dogs. The very last thing I would want to do would be to give my dogs away. So I've got a lag here. I don't know. Can you still hear me? I think I lost you.
Nope, you're good. We're back.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
So again, we serve the homeless community here in Louisville. There are many homeless folks here that do have pets, and basically they are taking food out of their own mouths to be able to feed their pets. And so my goal is to be able to provide their pets food, enough food for a week. We see them every week. So they won't have to do that. We get them, we provide veterinary assistance, we provide the basic supplies that they need in order for them to be able to not have to worry about that.
So you, I'm sure, didn't wake up one day and say, you know what, I want to take care of the pets of the homeless. I love this story. Tell me what happened that was your moment that this was the path you wanted to take.
Well, Josh, I think that all of us probably, if we really wanted to admit it, kind of have a negative outlook on homeless folks. And I will admit to being one of those people. And not so much that I thought negatively about them, is that really I didn't think about them at all, which is probably the worse, or at least as bad. So, just like anyone else, we have panhandlers here every once in a while. We have homeless people that kind of sit outside of stores and ask for food or for change. And day by day, if I saw those folks, most of the time what would go through my head was, wow, why don't they get a job, or something like that. So I really didn't, to be honest, give much thought to anyone outside my inner circle of family and friends and clients and things of that nature. And that all changed for me one day when my son was getting ready to go to college. We were preparing for him to go to college. I took him to lunch at a popular restaurant here in town, and it was a beautiful day. We sat outside. We got our food. We went outside. As soon as we sat down, to my right, I noticed a young man that had walked up, and he was the absolute epitome of homelessness. Of a homeless person. He was shirtless. He was really dirty. His hair was in dreads. His He had a backpack, a raggedy backpack, and he wasn't begging though. He came and he sat down on a park bench, and what really caught my eye is that he had a dog with him, and the dog also looked scroungy and hungry, and but this dog, it was just apparent, worshipped this guy. I mean, he had so much love for this guy. He was on a little rope collar and leash, but the guy wasn't even holding it. It was kind of trailing along behind. And I tell you what, they were both homeless and they both were hungry, but they looked happy. I mean, they didn't look sad or miserable or anything. And the guy sat down on the park bench, and after a few minutes, without a word to me or anything, my son actually got up. And this makes me teary every time I tell it. But he got up and he took his entire plate of food over to this young man, and you know, and the way that guys speak to each other, I guess, he was like, "Hey, dude, are you hungry?" And the guy said, "Yeah, man, I'm kind of hungry." And Jacob gave him his whole plate of food, and he was like, "Here, man, I hope this makes you feel better." Well, the man was extremely humble, and he was a young guy. I mean, he was probably 19 or 20 if I had to guess. He was very young. Extremely humble, extremely grateful. And the first thing that he did was break half of that burrito, it was a big burrito, in half, and he fed it to his dog first. Before he even took a bite of that food, he made sure that his dog was taken care of. And that image, I mean, it was burned into my mind, and I thought, wow, you know, that dog is probably the only thing, or the only, the only thing that young man has in his life that truly loves him without judgment or, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
It was just an amazing moment for me, and it really opened my eyes towards homelessness. And I mean, the pets of the homeless don't get to choose their masters, you know. I mean, but they provide them with safety and security. A lot of times, they provide them with a reason to get up in the morning, and something to care for that cares for them again and loves them unconditionally in return. And so, you know, at that moment, I was like, wow, that's just amazing. You know,
So he took the sandwich from your son, and before he took any bite, he gave half of it to his dog. I mean, it is even that visual for me, and I wasn't there. I'm just hearing it, and I've heard it before. I know the story, and it's like, oh my God, you just get so choked up because it's such a moment. So you're sitting there, you see this. Now you have a flood of emotions.
Yeah.
What literally from that moment clicked in your head that said, I got to do something about it, and this is what I have to do about it? Did you go home and think about it for a while, or did you take immediate action as soon as you got? What was your very next step in that direction from seeing that moment?
Well, I tell you, Josh, as most of us do, I mean, after I saw that, I really thought about it, and I thought about it for days. But as most of us do, we get wrapped up in our own lives, and we get wrapped up in our own problems and our kids and our jobs and in our businesses and stuff. And sadly, I didn't immediately do anything about it, but it stayed in my mind. And very shortly after that, a couple of months. And it is so funny how things work. They say everything happens for a reason. I was actually contacted by a homeless outreach program that saw my business online and through blogs and through certain, blogging and posts that I do. I actually made a post on my Facebook page, I believe, about what I saw that day.
Okay.
A homeless outreach program, just grassroots, not a big corporation or anything like that, reached out to me and asked me if I would be willing to donate some dog food through my business to a family that was homeless that had 2 dogs that they did not want to give up, but they were having a very hard time feeding them. And the dogs were starving, the people were hungry, and it was amazing because, you know, again, I hadn't really put anything into action until that point, and there was my opportunity. Right then and there was my opportunity.
You
And
know, you say, I'm sorry, just let me reiterate this because you mention a word that I think in my personal life and in the community that we deal with, I think does not get enough attention, and it is the big O, opportunity.
yes,
There is something so big to be said about the word opportunity. I think life and being a successful business person and really just a successful person for yourself, whether it is improving yourself, improving your family, improving your social life, improving your friends, improving your business, I think it really is about opportunity and how you observe opportunity and how you discover it and how you grab it and act on it.
that's right.
So really, as I know, it really doesn't get enough attention for my money. And there is so much to be said about opportunity because that's really all this is about, is how you navigate through the opportunities that are around you every moment of every day for any piece of your life. So
That's
since we're talking about business, yeah, so you just inadvertently had this experience, you posted it on Facebook,
yes.
and the opportunity presented itself and you grabbed it. So they approached you and said, hey, we saw this. We have a family that has pets. Would you care to donate some food? And now you say and do what as you're putting two and two together, right?
I mean, immediately my heart was drawn to to this, and I said absolutely. I mean, that moment, I actually went out, purchased dog food with my own money or through my business because it would, you know, it's considered charitable giving, and drove it out to the location where this family was. And what I saw touched me on a level that I've never been touched before. And basically, it was a family that had two dogs that were in a trailer that had no running water, no heat, no air, none of that stuff. Part of the wall was missing. They had two dogs that they were desperately trying to cling to in terms of ownership. And, you know, the dogs were sick. They were very, very hungry. The people were hungry. So from that moment on, I have worked with the homeless, with their pets. And it has been such a tremendous, life-changing thing for me to be able to do so. And I just thank God that I was pulled into this, and it's just been wonderful.
I can imagine it has been. So you bring the dog food to this family that the homeless shelter exposed you to and asked if you would, and you did. You go through that experience. You come back home, and you know at that point, you know what? I have to do something with all of this. Things are drawing me to this. What action do you now take to make this a more substantial event for yourself?
Well, Josh, I aligned myself with the homeless outreach program that reached out to me. So I talked to them. I said, are there more homeless with dogs or cats or other animals? At the time, I was just thinking dogs. They said, absolutely. I said, how can I help? This homeless outreach program is actually a very organic, grassroots kind of program where they go, basically we met in a parking lot downtown in our city. They met every Wednesday, passed out donated clothes. They prepared a meal for the homeless, gave them supplies. So my first encounter, my first step was to ask them, hey, can I join you? And they're like, sure, just pull up in the parking lot. I had absolutely no idea what to expect. And because my husband is a police officer, and I had really, the only exposure that I had had to homelessness was only what I had heard, and the stigma of being homeless. And I pulled my car down there with a couple of bags of dog food and cat litter into that parking lot, popped my trunk, and began the most inspiring journey of my life in a parking lot at 7 o'clock at night on a winter's evening. I aligned myself with them. It hadn't really crossed my mind to put a name to what I was doing at that point. It was more of a I wanted to see what was going on and how I could help, and that's exactly how I started. I took the step to actually say, hey, what can I do? How can I join you? How can I help? And that's how I got started.
That's such a great lesson and point to reiterate, because anybody interested in forming a nonprofit, forming a shelter, a rescue, a community outreach, a volunteer organization, anything to serve your community and the pets in your community, instead of just doing it isolated and hope for the best, do what Beth said. Align yourself first with a similar or a complementary organization or association that is already doing what you're doing. And like Beth said, call them up, get in touch with them, say, hey, this is who I am. How can I help? Of course they want volunteers. They want people to get involved who are interested. So get your feet wet, test the waters with a similar or complementary one that will complement your vision, like Beth did, and see how you can slowly get your feet wet and get the ball rolling. So when you did this, Beth, when did you say, it's going to be called My Dog Eats First, and this is the vision I have, and here's the mission? How and when did all that start to form?
Well, Josh, I went down every Wednesday. After that first Wednesday, I was committed to helping the homeless with their pets, because every single week I saw a true love and compassion and desire for these people, that these people had to care for their pets. And, we call them homeless, but to me, 4 brick walls doesn't really constitute a home. I have seen terrible cases of abuse and neglect in dogs and cats that come from people that have millions of dollars.
Yeah, good point.
4 tent walls can be a home. These people cared so much. They were concerned about their paw pads. They were concerned about their shots. They were concerned about their water and their food and how much to feed them. And I felt the love that they had for their pets. And I just determined after that first Wednesday night, hey, I'm going to come down here and do what I can to help these people. So very shortly, in a very short amount of time, word spread among the homeless community that I was coming down there and handing out dog food and things of that nature.
Beautiful.
And it just really, really took off. And, we have grown from providing food, veterinary assistance, and supplies to 10 homeless people to now over a tent city or a homeless camp with over 40 people, and then in another location, about 120 people a week come down for food and supplies and veterinary assistance. Some of them are not homeless; they're just really in a bad situation where they have pets and they don't want to drop them off at a shelter. They love them. They love them like children, which is how our clients love their pets. And so
it's an amazing connection, and I was just thinking this whole time as I'm continuing to get choked up because it's just so beautiful. I was just thinking that, wow, all of this, and you still have a successful, active pet sitting business. Boy, is that incredible. So with all this, you now have a clear vision of what you're doing, what you want to do, how it's forming. What does the city or the state or the government require of you, first and foremost, to make this official?
Okay, well, to make yourself an official nonprofit, you have to go through the motions as you would to register a business. So basically you'll want to, I did not do a business plan because things kind of happened organically with me. It was a progression of going down there and knowing what I wanted to do, and it was a pretty simple premise of we provide food and supplies and veterinary assistance. So I didn't do a business plan. Kind of looking back now, I wish I had of a little bit, but I would suggest doing a plan, to doing you have to do a budget, you have to register your nonprofit with the state, in the local government, in the IRS. You have to, of course, go through that branding process where you pick a logo. So everything that you've done for your pet sitting business or whatever business that you own, you need to take those exact same steps for your nonprofit. Then you have to apply for a nonprofit status. And that is a pretty lengthy application. It's very confusing and very difficult. Fortunately, I had my sister's a CPA, so she helped me with that. And then I was lucky enough to be noticed by Yum Brands, which owns KFC, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut. They are based here. Their corporate office is here in Louisville, and they gave me a team of young professionals. They call it their G2 team. They assigned them to me, and there's a group of, I believe, 12 people. They all specialize in different aspects of business. One of them was an attorney. She actually looked over the paperwork for me for free. They gave me a $500 donation to file the paperwork. It costs $400 to file for your 501(c)(3).
Well, let me ask you, how did Yum Corporation, the corporation behind Taco Bell and KFC, how did they find you?
This is a beautiful, beautiful thing, Josh, and I have to backpedal a little bit. So my nonprofit, My Dog Eats First, is very closely aligned with my business, and I promote it through my business, and I promote it as an arm, a philanthropic arm of our business. So in doing so, my clients have become aware of what we're doing. They have spread the word. It's really touched a lot of people. You know, one of my clients works for Yum, and so she approached their G2 team and said, I've got this nonprofit. We've got to help her. It's an awesome, awesome organization. And so through her, awareness was raised with Yum, who their outreach, they have a big outreach to end world hunger, if you kind of look into the corporation. So they do a lot of philanthropic work in regards to providing food for homeless and needy people, but they had never heard of anybody doing anything for their pets.
Wow.
So that's how, you know, the nonprofit has doing something wonderful in the community has actually come back to full circle around to my business. I've gotten clients from it, which is not why I started it, but it has been a wonderful, you know, a wonderful addition to Paul's Pet Care.
Sure. I mean, we all heard the story of how you were innocently sitting there with your son and you witnessed this. Let's not forget even if nothing came about it, let's not forget the incredible action that your son took by just giving this homeless guy some food, which turned out to be the moment that made all of this possible. And now, because you have and had and continue to have a successful pet business, you are able to tie this in, as you said, as the philanthropic arm, which is just incredible. Who doesn't love that? And wow, does this make everything full circle, like you said. So I know that sites like Biz Filings, if people don't have the sort of connections out of the gate that you were lucky to have, you could find, if you don't have your own CPA or your own attorney or your own filing person in your world, there are sites like Biz Filings where you can go and register. You know, they're the same online entities that will allow you to create an LLC or a corporation. They can also walk you through the nonprofit status. And you said it's about $400 to at least file for that.
Yeah.
For the 501(c)(3). And you really want that because that allows, A, credibility and legitimacy, but it allows your donors to tax write-off.
Yes, and while you're waiting for your 501(c) application to go through and be approved, you're considered a not-for-profit. So during that time, anything that's donated to you is still considered a tax write-off for your donors. So as long as your 501(c)(3) is in progress, then you are considered a not-for-profit. Whenever it's approved, you're considered a non-profit, and there's very little difference in the two. It's just, again, while your
Right, while you're waiting for the
process.
application.
And then I wanted to let you know too, whenever you try to start a 501(c), you have to have at least 3 people on a board, so you have to pick board members, and your application through the state or through the IRS, they will ask you who your board members are. So you need to have 3 people that you trust to be on a board of directors with you. One acts as a secretary, one acts as a treasurer, things of that nature. And then you have to write articles and bylaws. And I used Rocket Lawyer, it's an online thing like what you were talking about, to actually help me write my bylaws and my articles. So you can configure them to your whatever niche that you are doing, but they will help you. And it was relatively inexpensive. I want to say $50 or less.
So now at this point, life is great. You are doing what you're doing. You are involved. You're going along. Tell me about the first big challenge within this that you ran into.
Okay, so challenge, yes. A blessing too, but definitely a challenge. So, rolling along, building recognition in the community for what we're doing by word of mouth, through social media, through blogging, all the things that you've taught us, Josh. But start getting tons and tons of food donations. People want to donate. They want to help, and they're donating monetarily, but they want to also provide food. And so my garage starts filling up with all of this dog food and cat food and supplies, and I have an angry husband who can't park his car into the garage. So, one thing is just be prepared for success. And I don't think that, I think in the beginning, it wasn't that I wasn't thinking I would be successful, but I just wasn't prepared for the success that I had. Just a few months ago, and I've been doing this nonprofit for less than a year, I received a notice or communication through Dare to Care, which is a national organization, that they want to start donating all of their dog food, cat foods, pet supplies that are donated to them through all the Targets, Krogers, Walmarts to me.
What?
So,
wow.
Storage is definitely was definitely an issue, and of course I did not want to turn that opportunity away. So I had to rent a storage facility, and then to store food you have to put it in bins. So that was a little bit of an expense. But now, and I wanted to tell you this today, another homeless outreach has reached out to me. They have a warehouse, and they're donating me space. So absolutely amazing.
Wow, so how did you get this initial traction? How are they finding you? Is it just you're out there and they happen to see you, or are you doing something specific that you are getting in front of these people?
I'm actually out there. I mean, every single week. It is a commitment. I mean, you have to be ready to commit yourself to the cause that you have found to align yourself with. It's not sitting behind a desk, or it is a lot of work. And every Wednesday I wish I had taken a picture. I wanted to and I forgot. Pack the back of my car up with food, supplies, tables. We go set up in a parking lot. I have volunteers that come down voluntarily, and we hand out food. It's a weekly thing. You can't miss a week because they expect you. If you do have a week to miss, you better have a volunteer down there to be prepared. And then, one thing that I think that you need to expect when you start working with, if homelessness is your cause, is that you're going to make a lot of friends and fall in love with these people. You're going to become attached.
Wow. And I know you've gotten, when we're talking about the people that are aligning themselves with you, these big brands, these big corporations, these big organizations, I know you've gotten some TV time. How did that go? How did that happen?
Again, another client and then a friend through social media reached out to a local news broadcaster that was her friend, who absolutely loves pets. She's passionate about pets. and she reached out to me and asked me to do an interview with her, and it was a very lengthy, very inclusive interview. I mean, it was great. It wasn't in front of the camera for 2 seconds and then gone. I mean, she questioned me about what we were doing and was very engaged with us. So that was some great airtime. And just through, again, word of mouth, social media, blogging, taking pictures, posting them, letting people know what we're doing in the community, writers, news writers have reached out to me. So bloggers have reached out to us. We've had 2 articles written on Louisville.com, and so
Wow.
we have another reporter who's reached out to me who wants to basically come down with me for a series of weeks and do a series of articles on what we're doing down there.
And what's amazing, besides all of this and everything you're doing, is how I keep going back to the tie-in, the almost accidental or inadvertent tie-in with your pet sitting business. And not just that you're a pet sitting business owner and you're also the founder of My Dog Eats First, this nonprofit that feeds the pets of the homeless in your community, but how you've positioned it as the philanthropic arm of your pet sitting business. And from what you keep saying over and over when I'm asking these questions, how did you get that? How did they hear about you? How did this happen? It always seems to go back to one of my clients here, always with the pet sitting business. So it's just so amazing how it all ties in. And I do want to reiterate something you said, which was this does require work, obviously, right? I hope that goes unspoken, but I think we have to speak about it anyway. If you want to create any sort of project like this, outreach like this, community organization like this, it is going to take work to create, work to maintain, and as Bethany said, work to do. You have to get your face out there and you have to stay present, right?
Yeah, and I will say, Josh, that for me, it's a commitment and it is work. But for myself, I'm so passionate about it and I love doing it so much that it doesn't feel like a job. I look forward to it every Wednesday. And, it's time that initially was taken away from my family and from Paul's Pet Care. But on the flip side, now my family's involved. So my kids are actually coming down with me every Wednesday night, getting behind a table, talking to homeless folks, giving them food for their pets, playing with their pets, and their pets are safe to play with because we've had them all vetted. We have a mobile vet that comes down now voluntarily once a month and makes sure that the pets have their shots and that they're wormed and that if they have skin issues that they get medication. So, and guess what? She came to me from a client. So, and it's just a lot of people that have come together through word of mouth that are now trying to make a difference alongside of me in our community. And it is work, and it does come with some effort. But the feeling that you get and actually reaching out and helping someone in need, the feeling of appreciation that they have for you and the humbleness that comes along with it, it pays for itself a million times over.
I'm sure that's no accident, and it's certainly no surprise. And it brings me to another point. How many times in our industry do we hear from a fellow pet sitter that is upset or frustrated because they're getting undercut by a new pet sitter who popped up, charging, less than what they are, and oh my gosh, how am I going to compete with this? Well, first of all, we always try to differentiate ourselves and say, try your best to figure out how not to compete on price. Right. If it's about that, you're going to cut yourself out of the market quicker than the person who just arrived trying to undercut you. So we always want to figure out how to competitively differentiate ourselves. And my goodness, is this not a tangible, credible, amazing way to do it? Absolutely. Associate yourself. Bethany has this philanthropic arm. I clearly love that phrase, of your pet sitting business. Is she ever going to have to compete on price? No, she's not concerned with price, and her ideal client isn't going to be concerned with price either, and she's not going to fight for that because she has so much more good going on that it's not about picking and choosing on that level.
You know, Josh, I've always been a supporter of local area businesses, local area rescues, and in our business, we have always worked hard to support those local rescues. I mean, we do events with them, we rent booths, we've, done stuff that, of course, would help us out in marketing ourselves, but we've tried to be really supportive of their efforts. I've never really felt connected to their causes, though, on a personal level. I want to support them, but I had not felt connected to it personally. I feel so connected to this cause personally and professionally that I again want to do it. I want to be involved. It's grassroots. It's organic. You have to hit the street. Basically, our feet are on the street, as what my community partner says. We're not a large organization, and I thank God for those large organizations that are providing help for homeless folks. But very, very often, their feet aren't on the street. You know what I'm saying? So we're down there with homeless people, loving them and hugging them and caring for them every single week. And I feel so connected, and I think that's why this has been as successful as it has been so far, because I think my point is you have to find something that you're not just trying to use to grow your business, but that you feel truly connected to and passionate about. And
isn't that the lesson of life?
Yes.
No matter what you're trying to achieve or do, even if it's building a friendship or rekindling a relationship with a family member or growing a business, you have to be sincere about your motives. You have to be passionate about it. You have to have an interest in what you're pursuing, or it's not going to work.
Right.
So can you give us a typical day-to-day in your life? What do you spend your days doing?
Well, I spend my days working on my business. Thankfully, we have contractors that are doing a whole lot of the pet sits right now, so I'm able to manage what's going on, make sure my clients are taken care of 100%. And then every day I focus a little bit. I spend a little bit of time, whether it's an hour or 30 minutes, on growing this little nonprofit. I call it my little nonprofit, and people here locally laugh at me now. They're like, it's not so little anymore. But
oh, great.
Yeah, so I spend a little bit of time, of course, always answering emails, posting on our Facebook page, updates. We right now are in the middle of a crisis with one of our homeless camps. It is a 30-year-old homeless camp. It's been in Louisville for 30 years. And there are people back there that have been in that camp, I think the longest one maybe 10 or 15 years. Lots of homeless vets, people that are homeless for a variety of reasons, males, females, families. It's a really kind of sad situation, but we work with them every single Wednesday. I've become close to them all. The railroad has come in and basically given them 30 days to evacuate the camp. They're going to bring bulldozers back and just bulldoze it to the ground. So right now, we are working with the Coalition for the Homeless here in Louisville, and several other, the LMPD, which is Louisville Metro Police Department, and several other organizations to get this stopped. So again, my little nonprofit has turned into quite the organization in trying to help fight for some of the rights of these homeless folks and educate people about what homelessness truly is. And not only that, we're reaching people through their pets. So if these people, we have a social worker down every Wednesday with us. So we brought him in from 7 counties. He contacted me and I asked him to, I was like, come on down. So voluntarily comes down every Wednesday and just talks to folks and sees how he can help them. But it's not just all about feeding the dogs and cats anymore. It's about forming relationships with these homeless people through their pets and through the love that they have for their pets, and seeing how we can help them.
Yeah, and it's really, it seems like it's taking on a life of its own, so to speak.
Really, really is.
Yeah, and also good attracts good, right? You're just doing what you're doing
That's right.
and you're keeping your eyes open for opportunities, and they are presenting themselves in various forms and various ways because they are noticing you and you're putting out good and they want to be involved and so on and so forth.
That's right.
Can we talk for a minute about money and finances and donations and that sort of a thing?
Absolutely.
What kind of personal money did you have to put in? What kind of investment can the people watching expect to at least get something like this off of the ground?
Well, Josh, before I really knew in my heart that I wanted to create this legal entity and brand it and everything, I basically bought or purchased dog food and cat food and stuff like that on my own through my business. It was my business's donation to this effort. So I think in the very beginning, I may have spent around $500 just over the course of weeks, a couple of months, just purchasing some food and basic supplies and things of that nature. After I decided this was a direction that I wanted to move into, and of course I reached out to you to help me with the website and the branding process and things of that nature. Once we put a donate button on the website and got all that set up through PayPal and things of that nature, and put it on our Facebook page and sent out an email, the donations started rolling in. And you know, the monetary donations started coming in, but also the food donations. So very rarely do I have to take money out of the account to buy food and supplies because they're already donated to me.
That's wonderful. So one of the first things you had to do on the financial front after you were putting in your own money to get things off the ground, you have to open up a separate business bank account. Is that
Yes.
correct? Right.
Yes. Yeah, my suggestion is to just approach this as you would approach building a business. So you want a separate bank account and then a separate PayPal account that feeds into that bank, or whatever that you choose for your donations, how to process donations from your website. Yes.
Okay, and then how do you I'm sure accountants and all of your advisors can assist on this, but generally speaking, so you have your money in there because it's a nonprofit. How do taxes and that sort of a thing work?
I haven't hit that yet. This will be my first year. I do have a CPA that will be handling all that for me. I'm hoping that my nonprofit status comes through before then. Otherwise, from what I understand, I will have to pay taxes on the donations that were received, but I'm not real sure about that. I depend heavily upon my CPA for that information because I'm not an accountant. That is not my specialty. But so basically, the money that's been donated is sitting in the account, and I take as little as necessary out just for basic expenses. So yeah, you definitely need a separate account.
Switching gears now back to the actual philanthropic efforts that you perform, what's the worst thing that you've seen out there?
Unfortunately, I have seen very young people that are homeless and that fight homelessness because of a broken system, and it's very sad. Now, the young people that I'm talking about don't have pets, but you know, I work with what I call community partners, which are the nonprofits that reached out to me. They're with me every Wednesday. They provide a dinner, a meal for the homeless people. I provide food and supplies for their pets. So, and then again, we have a social worker down there, a mobile vet, and then the other community partner usually has a kind of a triage set up where they treat just wounds and scratches and things of that nature. But so these young people come down there to get a meal, and I've seen them in the freezing cold. I've seen them in the freezing rain. They'll go into foster care. They'll run away, and it just seems like a lot of systems that are in place to supposedly help people are broken. I see a lot of veterans that are homeless. That it just breaks my heart. My father is a veteran, and my son is in the Navy, and it truly breaks my heart to see that. Just because the system in the VA is broken. There's a lot of need, and it goes beyond pet. I mean, pets are definitely, pet food and things like that are definitely a need, but there's a lot of need for just interaction with these people, just for these people to know that you care about them, and or someone cares about them, and that they're loved and taken care of. So
Yeah. So this whole thing began with a seemingly innocent lunch one afternoon with your son, who decided to take his meal, give it to the homeless person he saw close by, happened to have a dog by his feet. You witnessed this whole thing. One thing led to another. You've taken all of these actions. Tell me the single best thing you did to get you to this amazing point.
get up and move and get going. Do something about the need. Feel the need. If you see a need, feel a need. I think I've heard that on a Disney show somewhere, or maybe the cartoon robots. You'll understand this. You have a little one, so. But if you know, it's all fine and good to see something and feel badly about it and sympathize, and it's so easy not to do anything about it because you feel like, somebody else will do it, or I don't have time.
Or what difference can I, as one person, make?
Right, exactly. And it's overwhelming, but if you see a need, if you see a way that you can help someone in the community, or just feel it, do something about it. It's as simple as, and this is what I tell my volunteers, Josh. They'll say, I'm going to come down every Wednesday, and this is awesome, and I'm so glad to be doing this. And I tell them, don't make a commitment to me to come down every Wednesday. If you come down once a month or once a year, then that's perfectly fine, because people get overwhelmed with the responsibility of doing things. I don't want them to feel pressured to have to be down there with me. But if they feel led to help, then I want them down, to come down whenever they can. So whether you choose to align yourself with an existing nonprofit organization, or you choose to start something yourself, just know that it's going to be a lot of work, but it pays off so much in terms of what you will get out of it emotionally, and what it will do to help your business grow. So just feel a need.
I love that. I've never really heard it that way. If you see a need, fill a need. The way I know it is, as business people, what we're doing is we're providing solutions to a problem. So if you see a problem, provide the solution. That's all business is about on every single level. Whatever product you see out there, whatever service you see out there, it is literally broken down to that product, that service is filling a solution to a problem. As pet professionals, as pet sitters and dog walkers, we are providing a solution to their problem. The problem is they're at work 5 days a week. They can't get home midday to walk their dog, so what do? That's their problem. The solution is hire the most qualified, loving, trusting, caring pet sitter that they can. Problem, solution, that is all everything in business goes down to. So like Bethany said, if you see a problem, if you see a need, fill a need. Same difference. Let's close out with this, Bethany. What's the best thing right now in your life about being the founder of My Dog Eats First?
I just feel so overwhelmed with gratitude that I'm able to help these people. Like I said before a little earlier, I started going down there, I started helping them. It was all about giving them dog and cat food and supplies for their pets, but I've really formed a personal bond with many of these folks, and they look forward to seeing me, and I look forward to seeing them, like a friendship. And so we talk about their day, we talk about how their week has been, how their family is, and they absolutely love that, and I actually love the interaction as well. So I get to help them with their pets. I get to help them keep their pets. I get to help make sure that they're fed and they're healthy, but I also get to make new friends and form new relationships, and I love that.
And whether it's in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, what's next for My Dog Eats First? If you can wake up tomorrow and in the blink of an eye, you're at the next level, the next ideal, the next goal, what is that? What's next for you there?
So exciting. So once my 501c comes through, I will start applying for some grants that I've learned about. And I don't know how it is in other cities, but in Louisville we have shelters for people to go into on really cold nights or stormy nights, or for homeless folks. So they put out white flags basically. So on a white flag night, anybody can come into these shelters to take shelter from the cold and the rain and things of that nature. Unfortunately, our homeless friends with pets cannot bring their pets. There's nowhere for them to go, and they will not leave them. They love them too much. So torrential, just imagine having your pet that you love in a tent with you during a torrential downpour or the worst weather that you can imagine, that you've been in your house huddled in your basement. These people stay outdoors in that kind of weather with their pets and protect them because they have absolutely nowhere to go, and they will not leave them tied to a tree. I mean, if that's not love, folks, what is? I mean, it is a deep bond that they have with their pets. So my goal is to be able to build a shelter that they can either come to or check their pets into, and have the freedom to come back the next morning and pick their pets back up. So, you know, that is my dream, is to be able to give them the opportunity to take shelter somewhere in severe weather, severe cold, and be able to freely come and get their pets the next day, check them back out, you know, so they have the opportunity to take shelter in this severe weather. I've been downtown in temperatures below zero, 15 degrees below zero, and people are out sleeping in these kinds of conditions with their pets.
Yeah. Well, it's no secret or surprise after watching and hearing all of this why I am personally and emotionally invested in your work, your project. I'm so glad you reached out to me. I'm honored to always play as much of a part in your journey as I can, and I will continue to do so. I know that in the next week or two you have a goal that you've already surpassed, but why not continue? Tell us about these T-shirts and how people can find you, donate, and participate.
So we have a T-shirt campaign going on right now through booster.com, and it's our second T-shirt campaign. You can find it by going to booster.com/MyDogEatsFirst. Our initial goal was to sell 50 T-shirts. We have surpassed that by about 25 shirts, so now the goal is 100. We, of course, get a portion. We get all the proceeds go to My Dog Eats First. We will retire that T-shirt and never use it again, and possibly create another one. So, you know, we continue to, this has turned into a really cool way for people to support us, to advertise what we're doing by wearing a T-shirt, and, you know, for us to be able to raise funds to continue to help the pets of the homeless. So I would love your support. The more people that wear them, the more people will know what we're doing.
And of course, outside of the T-shirt campaign, MyDogEatsFirst.com is your main hub, right? That's how people can get involved?
Yes, we have a donate link there. Our social media profiles are listed there. We have, of course, a blog there, and information on how locals can get involved. You know, and if someone is interested in doing this in their own city, please use our ideas as a template for getting started. Don't recreate the wheel, you know, and call me and let me know how I can help.
Wow, listen to what she just said. If anybody watching wants to do this exact outreach, like she said, why reinvent the wheel? If you want to take care and feed the pets of the homeless in your community, get in touch with her and she will template this and help you through it. Thank you so much, Bethany. I want to really thank you for your time. You know, I think you're doing amazing work. You know you're doing amazing work. Continue on that journey. It's a pleasure to be a part of and watch. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, that'll wrap it for this edition. Josh Carey with Pet Sittingology. As always, I want to remind you, life is short, but life is great. Be kind to each other and have a great day. We'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.